Well, hello, my name is Brian Blackmore for Church Production Magazine. Today we're going to be talking about the HuddleCam Pro HD. It's a webcam that can zoom and pan, but it's not a PTZ. It just sort of acts like one. It has a wide range of applications in the church market, from streaming worship services to small groups to messages from the pastor and a lot more. And here today to discuss the product are Paul Richards, Director of Business Development with HuddleCam. Say hi, Paul.
Hi, Brian. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here to talk about the HuddleCamHD Pro today.
Great. Glad to have you. And Mark Hanna is a independent content creator and a former church video director based in Raleigh, North Carolina. Say hi, Mark.
Hey, Brian. How are you doing today, man?
Okay. We're doing great. So, Paul, before we get into to the discussion on Mark's finding, Mark recently reviewed the HuddleCam Pro HD for Church Production Magazine. But before we get into Mark's findings, Paul, could you tell us a little bit more about the HuddleCam Pro HD, both the USB as well as the IP NDI version?
Yeah, so I have these two webcams in front of me. They're a little bit bigger than your normal Logitech small webcam, but that's because they really pack a punch for a little bit higher video quality. So the HuddleCam HD Pro has a USB connection and a HDMI connection, making them very affordable. It's only $299, making it really easy to plug into any computer. It's certified for use with Zoom. So it works with all the Zoom advanced features, allowing worship leaders to control the camera from anywhere in the world. And then it also has that great HDMI port, which can be used with like the popular Blackmagic A10 minis. So it's an interesting camera that we designed to be good for Zoom and Skype and video conferencing, but also great for video production. So it has these dual purpose. And then we also are big supporters of the new tech NDI, and this is truly the first NDI supported webcam. So we've got this here as well to talk about. I'm using it here today, right now. So I'll be able to kind of show it off as we talk. But I learned a lot from Mark's perspective. So I'm interested to hear, his thoughts and how so many pastors are moving to online worship and online communications and Zoom breakout sessions. So having a webcam like this that allows you to kind of show a wide, small group of people and actually be able to zoom in, pan and tilt just like a normal PTZ camera. It's quite interesting. It's really kind of the first of its kind.
It's really innovative. We've had fun playing with it. I know Mark did as well. Mark, tell us your thoughts on the being asked to evaluate a webcam for Church Production Magazine.
Well, I won't lie, Brian. If you had told me 8 months ago, hey, we're going to have you look at a webcam for the magazine, I'd have thought, what's the point? Why would we do that? That doesn't even make sense necessarily in the church world. But, post-COVID, it makes a lot of sense in the church production world. I had a client that I was actually just doing some contract work for recently. This would have been a perfect product for them. They basically stole one of their congregation's handy cams and set it up in the back. And they have two people on stage leading worship. And when the pastor goes up to speak, it's just him on stage, but the shot is still wide for the two people leading worship. And all I could think of was, man, if for, $299, they could have upped this to being able to have a two shot and be able to make it a little more engaging. And at this point, that actually makes a lot of sense.
So, Paul, tell us a little bit about how does that work? It's a 4K sensor that you're zooming into in what they sometimes call a region of interest. So, could you tell us a little bit more about how that works?
Yeah, so it is. It's a 4K webcam. And so you are able to enhance the video with digital zoom. And we've used a technology called electronic pan tilt zoom. So within that 4K, when you start zooming in, so here's the widest 4K image, and it's about 120 degrees. But when we start zooming in, we now can electronically pan, tilt, and zoom. And so we can actually do like camera presets, for example. So I'll set a preset here and then another one. And this is traditional with like PTZ cameras where you can zoom into a location and quickly kind of zoom back and forth. You can see here that we're able to do that. So it operates like a PTZ camera. It can be controlled like a PTZ camera. When you're using it with Zoom video conferencing, which is becoming really popular now, it supports all of the PTZ camera controls. So a worship leader from helping out the pastor or running a worship service can actually request remote camera control from anywhere in the world and frame up the video shot for a pastor from anywhere, which is really cool. And then with the NDI models, which I wanted to show briefly, a lot of churches are using NDI cameras, and the NDI models connect directly to, I'll cut to this camera so you can see it. This allows us to kind of show the 10x zoom a little better here. This is like, it really operates like a PTZ camera, and I'm using vMix right now, but it works with OBS, it works with Livestream Studio, it works with Wirecast, it works with all the solutions that support PTZ camera controls will work with this, including like I can even use my smartphone with like an iOS app. So it really makes it interesting to be able to add cameras way more affordably than maybe we've thought of in the past with power over Ethernet webcams and USB connectivity, which is just so easy to use.
Right. So, Paul, could you tell us a little bit more about the automatic? Is it facial recognition where it recognizes people in the shot?
That's true. So this camera builds on 3 core technologies that really makes it powerful. And maybe not everyone gets to the top level, but the first level, as you mentioned, is that 4K technology with electronic pan tilt zoom. So we talked about that. It has the power to digitally zoom in and out. Now with that, we took it a step further and we added what we call auto framing. So it's not auto tracking. It's not going to follow you left and right, but I could turn this feature on to show you how it works. But what it will do is it will automatically frame subjects with automatically. So there's a feature that I could turn on right now. If you'd like, I could show it to you, but essentially just turn off my mirroring. Hopefully that, I don't know if you guys can see that or not. But in settings, I can turn on auto framing. And that essentially tells the camera, look for 2 eyes, a nose, and a mouth, and zoom in to that space. So it takes a moment to kick in. But if I have like 2 or 3 people sitting here, it will frame them and it'll automatically do that. So there we go. So it just kind of says, all right, there's no other face left or right, and it just snaps it right in. So that's auto framing. That's more for small spaces where there's like 2 or 3 people. Sometimes there's 1 person, it'll zoom in all the way. Sometimes there's 3 people, it'll zoom out a little bit, but always automatically frame it. So it has some intelligence built in. I hope that we get to auto tracking with these cameras, but right now it's auto framing.
Mm-hmm. So Mark, so you evaluated this again for Church Production Magazine. I'm sure you've already given us at least one example, but I'm sure you had some other things cross your mind when you were evaluating it about how a church might be able to use this particular product, this sort of technology. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, obviously it makes sense in the worship environment to be able to use this for, setting up worship and then being able to punch in for the pastor when they're speaking. But with churches, again, post-COVID, with churches going to more online things, small groups are now becoming a bigger portion of a lot of churches' focus because that's the only way you can get people to engage at this point. Being able to have either a pastor-led or staff-led small groups and have somebody who can actually sit and direct and pull focus to themselves and things like that during the leading of a small group is also a huge advantage. And if you can get 2 or 3 staff members in a room and be able to, cut this together like a show, that's a real advantage, I think, for getting engagement in a small group on a web setting.
Right. I mean, in addition to the other types of applications like a business would use just for webcams
Right.
and business meetings and staff meetings and things like that, this is it's more versatile, offers some more features that make it more versatile. Paul, is there anything else that we haven't touched on with maybe under the hood of this thing that you'd like the church production readers or viewers to know about?
Sure. Well, we just recently announced that we are going to be offering a 5-year warranty with this product. So we increased that from 3 years because there's no moving parts in this product. So we really do believe that this will last for at least 5 years, which is really for a webcam the highest industry warranty that you can really expect out there right now. You can see that it has a clamp mount, so it can be clamped onto a normal laptop or a monitor, but it also supports a 1/4-20 mount, so you can put that right onto a tripod. Most video conferencing softwares today, like Zoom, sometimes they support 720, but a lot of times it's more like 480 resolution. And so that means with a 4K sensor, you can zoom in, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, up to 8 to 10x digitally, and it still looks really good. So if you're using a web conferencing, you have a lot of flexibility for zooming in and still maintaining the quality. If you're doing a higher end production, you can still get the full HD 4K, or I guess you'd say UHD, Ultra HD video off of that HDMI and use it with like a Blackmagic ATEM Mini. So there's a lot there. It comes with an IR remote control. So this remote control is a really easy way to control it. But as I mentioned, you can also control it over USB. So that means Zoom can control it just with a single USB connection. But we also have a HuddlecamHD camera control application that's totally free for Mac and PC, which can control the camera. And then some software supports UVC control on the live streaming side, like I know vMix does. And also we have a plugin for OBS, which is really popular in the church market. So that's kind of just on the control side. And then on the NDI side, that really does open up a lot of different applications. Once you put this camera on your network, you can now stream that video to an NDI decoder that maybe is powering a display in the lobby to show, the video feed somewhere else. You can bring it into any live streaming software that supports NDI, which is pretty much everything. You can bring it into any software that supports a webcam now. So the NDI was really popular, or what really was an easy choice for us because it integrates with so many pieces of software like ProPresenter, right? Like Easy Worship. It really makes it very valuable and can be powered over a single Ethernet cable. So when we talk about like do it yourself, yes, it's nice to hire a professional integrator to put in a live streaming system, but this is something that anybody can purchase and basically put it anywhere they can run an Ethernet cable to. So if you want to put a camera on a drummer, if you want to put a camera that you can remotely control that has no moving parts, that's probably going to last forever with a 5-year warranty. It's a very great looking camera for a lot of different scenarios.
Paul, I think we'd be remiss if we didn't also mention the audio capabilities. So tell us a little bit more about the microphone.
Yeah, so it has actually a 2 microphones. So it is a dual beamforming microphone array. So that allows it to pick up audio fairly closely. I mean, it's not meant to be picking up the entire church or a choir, or honestly a pastor that's 20, 30 feet away, but it is good for those small meetings and those conferences. So if you plug in that single USB cable to the HuddlecamHD Pro to your video conferencing software, it will be your video and your audio source. And it's kind of just plug and play at that point.
Okay. Well, it's called the HuddleCam Pro HD. There's 2 versions. Paul, maybe you could just tell us one more time a brief feature set and the pricing before we close today.
Sure. So the HuddleCam HD Pro is got USB and HDMI, and it's only $299. So these have a 5-year warranty, and they are 4K. They come with a remote control, so you're good to go. Now the NDI version is $499. It's a little more expensive, but it's about the same feature set. It's still 4K. It is different because it only has an Ethernet connection. So the idea with NDI is one cable to rule them all, right? You want to run one Ethernet cable to this camera. It powers the camera, it can control the camera, it sends video and audio from the camera. And Ethernet is very easy to use and very affordable to buy. So those are the 2 camera models, and they are really some of the most powerful webcams available today.
Okay. Well, folks, if you want to read more Mark Hanna's review, you can search HuddleCam Pro HD at churchproduction.com and find out more about Mark's findings there. So, again, it's called the HuddleCam Pro HD. I just want to thank Paul Richards, Director of Business Development with HuddleCam Pro, and Mark Hanna, independent content creator from North Carolina. Thanks for joining us, everybody.